We're gonna go ahead and get started. The beginning, make sure we can get our library and police and fire back home as soon as they can, since they don't wanna partake with us today.
Yeah, remember that.
But first off, everybody, plenty of food back there. Please go make a plate. This is a celebration of the season, and also, we are losing a dad member tonight, and when Debbie comes back in, I'll let her address that, as she chooses. Also, Ariel could not be here tonight. She went into labor yesterday. So our thoughts are certainly with her. I'm glad she didn't come tonight and see this little stinker running around and decide to change her mind at the last minute and maybe put the baby up for adoption or something, but,
Do it, eBay.
yeah. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and, Tony, if you wanna go ahead and, well, Debbie, yeah, we were just getting started. We talked about, today being, potluck and, your plan, so we appreciate you. We'll speak a little more after the meeting, but yeah, just wanna get everything going here, and everybody, please, go eat to your heart's content, and, Mr. Chair, I send it back over to you.
I'm gonna call a motion for the agenda in minutes.
Second.
Have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do you have any nay? All ayes. On to our first staff reports, Wichita Police Fire Department. Wichita Fire Department.
They did them both in one.
And that's out here.
They
All right, well,
did them both in one.
the fire had to go.
Yep,
Yeah.
I reported that there is a fire.
Hey, our,
Do we,
Send pictures.
yeah, so we'll move on, but, our thoughts are always with the fire department, especially this time of the year. This is fire warming season. I get notices all the time about the fires, especially along the corridor, so, let's keep all our first responders in mind as we go about our normal routines here. They're the ones who put their lives on the line for it, so. Mr. Chair, moving on.
the second one is Wichita Police Department.
Hello, I'm Officer Jensen, happy to be here. Sad I'm missing out on the food and the celebration. But, excuse me, during this time, we've been doing our own celebrating and making sure that as many families and people are touched by the kind generosity of others. For Thanksgiving, we, along with several other officers and citizens, helped hand out 150 Thanksgiving meals to some needy families. And right now, we're actually in the process of getting 150 more names for Christmas. So we're excited about that. We love being able to help those people out and see the joy on their faces, and you know, the parents and the kids and everything having that opportunity to have a good meal for the holidays. This upcoming Monday and Tuesday, we're doing Shop with a Cop. We're going to be doing it at Walmart on Monday at 3030 North Rock, and then at 501 East Pawnee on Tuesday. We have a total of 30 kids that are going to come shop with us. So we're super excited about that, to be able to allow them to get presents and have a Christmas that they might not otherwise have. And obviously with the holidays comes the cold weather. And the cold weather means people are warming up their cars and then going inside the house to finish getting ready or whatever. We just encourage people to not do that because there's a lot of auto theft, and auto theft increases during this time because people leave their cars unattended. So we want to make sure that, you know, we pass that along to you guys, and then you guys to anybody that you know that tries to warm up their car and not stay in it or be with it. I know that we on the south side will go around early in the morning, and if we see it, we'll make contact trying to inform all the citizens just to help them out so they don't have to go through some type of bad situation having their vehicle taken. And then also with that, retail theft increases during this time of year. So we're working really hard with the stores, putting together different plans in place to help them combat the retail theft. And then lastly, burglaries are actually down. We've been working with storage units. We had a lot of storage burglars to different storage units, but we've been working with the companies, giving them some tips and things that they can do on their end to help. And then we also supplement that with, more frequent pass-bys and things of that nature. So we've seen a direct correlation and a dip in those, which is very promising. And we hope to continue that trend. So that's all I have. Officer Berger, do you want to add?
Yeah, if you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, just to piggyback off of Officer Jensen, out east we have a lot of stolen autos as well. So yeah, I'd like to reiterate that please don't leave your vehicles unattended in the morning. Also, we're seeing a increase in larceny to autos as well. So please don't leave any valuables in view. And we like to encourage those that if you're able to garage your vehicle or, put your vehicle in the garage is probably a good idea. Also, we are currently, we have some funds left over from a golf tournament that we did a couple of years ago. So right now we're kind of looking for some families to brighten their holidays by taking some kids out Christmas shopping. So we're in the works with that. Yeah, as far as that, I don't really have anything else earth shattering to pass on. I think Officer Jensen hit it pretty well. So.
Any questions for the staff?
Officer Jensen, you're in District 3, right?
Yes.
Can you stop by Off-Road Motorsports and talk to him? He's doing a fundraiser and the police officer that was supposed to come get the funds would not, he disappeared. So can you stop in there and talk to Scott and give him a direction because we want to help?
Yeah, you said it was off-road sports?
Off-Road Motorsports, 3635 Southeast Boulevard. It's in our district.
Perfect.
Tell him Debbie sent. He'll take care of you.
Okay. I appreciate that information. I absolutely will.
I told him I'd get somebody to come see whenever that one person dropped off the face of the earth, so.
Yep, we'll get that taken care of for you.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
That's all I needed.
Any further questions?
Any questions from the public?
Well, thank you guys, and again, you guys are out there putting your lives on the line for us every single day. We think about you guys. If you get a chance to stop by here in the next hour, plenty of good food here.
you.
Officer, you're looking a little small there, so you might need to put some more calories on.
Thank you,
But thank
Councilman.
Thank you guys for all.
Happy
Thank you.
holiday.
Happy holidays.
And next, the Wichita Public Library with Robin.
All right, the last all ages game night for 2024 was yesterday, from 4:30 to 6:30. There's gonna be game nights following the same schedule in January and February of 2025 on the first Tuesday of each month. The last story time of 2024 was also yesterday morning. And family story times at Walters are gonna start back up again on Tuesday, January 7th from 11:30 to 12. And then tomorrow on the 5th, stop by Walters between 1 and 5 for a making date. Patrons aged 4 to 11 are gonna be invited to create a unique piece of art using paper weaving techniques. The Walters branch is gonna have one last community craft circle session for ages 15 and up from 4:30 to 6:30 next Wednesday on the 10th. It's a come and go event. We encourage you to bring whatever project you're currently working on. And it's gonna be our last adult craft program for the time being. And then on Tuesday, December 17th, from 1:30 to 4, we're gonna have a class on Canva, which is a website that enables people to design all sorts of things, including flyers, resumes, social media posts, projects. I believe that our last spot for that did just get taken earlier today, but there is a wait list if you're interested. There's gonna be no December Doc and Talk, as the regular scheduled day falls on Christmas Eve. You can look forward to our January Doc and Talk, which is gonna start at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 28th. In my garden of 1,000 bees, a wildlife filmmaker follows the bees in his urban garden and discovers diverse species and personalities. Local nonprofit craftsmen and fruit bees will host a short discussion following. And also in January, we'll be starting an informal digital skills program partnering with NetStep Alliance. You can drop into the Walters meeting room every Wednesday evening, anytime between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. to help or to receive help navigating your smartphone, creating and managing an email address, and more. And NetStep will also have their laptops that patrons can use online to learn with. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
That,
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, for your community craft circle night, do you
Yes.
take donations?
We do, except for the fact that since we're stopping adult craft program in 2025, or at least putting a pause on it,
Okay,
I don't know if it'll get used.
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
any other? Yeah. Questions from the public? No questions?
Well, thank you, Robin. We appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to, Wichita Fire Department.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry for my abrupt exit. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Fortunately, the house wasn't on fire, it was with the dispatches too, so. Ended up being small rubbish crash fire, so. The rest of it's loose pretty quick. If you don't know me, my name's Matt Bowen. I've been with the city of Wichita for 33 years. I'm a battalion chief. I run out of Firehouse number 2 on Broadway. I won't bore you with a lot of details. I have one handout here that has the stats for District 3 for November. And in that, it also has, about 4 or 5 pages of safety messaging. And I hit it every single time I go to a DAB meeting or a public presentation. I talk about close before you go. And that program, it's a national program. City of Wichita, Fire Department adopted it several years ago. Essentially, one of the things that you can do in your home to make it as safe as possible and help us better serve you is when you sleep at night, you close your bedroom doors. You isolate and you compartmentalize your bedroom away from the rest of the house. A simple closed, even a hollow core door will give you an incredible amount of time. And there's an illustration in those handouts that shows a closed door versus an open door and the damage between those bedrooms. As I've said before, our members are trained and the expectation is if the normal route for your entry into your home or your exit from your home is blocked by fire, we're gonna be doing targeted searches. We train our members to know that, the highest priority areas to search in the home, and we search those first, and we search all searchable space. So that's why you pay your taxes, and we're here because of y'all. Smoke detectors, if you know anybody that needs smoke detectors, we have a program through community risk reduction division, and they will provide up to 4. If you meet the criteria, and those criteria, if you need assistance with those, they'll provide up to 4 smoke detectors. Part of that program, though, is to ensure that those smoke detectors are being installed properly and in the correct places. participants need to understand that we, the fire department, our risk reduction prevention division is gonna be the ones installing. So you have to allow us into your house and we'll show you. But it's a really great program that's been going on for over a decade now. But, any fire prevention or any questions, I have, the risk reduction, phone numbers on both these handouts. This handout is, kind of an overview of what happened in November with our department. We're getting ready in about 2 weeks. We are graduating 2024 -1 recruit class. We're gonna graduate 6. I was informed earlier today, I haven't seen anything in black and white earlier today that we're getting ready after the first of the year to start an EMT academy and then have a roll into the fire academy. What we, just through normal attrition, retirements and members leaving and stuff, we lose generally between 1.5 and 2 people per month. So, you know, if everything stays the same, we use the recruit academy every single year just to maintain where we're at. Any questions?
Question from the public.
Yes, sir.
All this talk about laying all these firemen off, is that just talk or is that really coming down the pipe?
You know, how we got the 42 firemen it was grant funded through the federal government. There's a paid in full, grant for 3 years, in excess of $10 million. So we added 2 additional truck companies, one of them, which is in District 3, others out, off Central and Elder Station Lake. And we also added, and every single, council district benefited from this grant because all the other truck companies, so we have 7 total now, all of them had increased staffing, went from 3-person staffing to 4-person staffing. It makes an incredible difference. We have 22 firehouses, yeah. We have 22 firehouses, in the city of Wichita. And we have our fire apparatus, our engines, what we call pumpers that move all the water, have all the hose. And then truck companies, which are either aerial ladders or the big platform bucket trucks that you see. Best practice national standards generally have 3 to 1 or even greater. So we have 22 engine companies. We should have at least 7 truck companies. That's kind of what it is, the industry average. And what a truck company does, you know, they do everything to support that pump. So they'll do the ventilation, rooftop ventilation, they'll do the search. I mean, they specialize in all these support functions for the firemen that are on them engine companies that are stretching lines. And oftentimes, if a pumper is not available, you know, that truck company, just because a pumper is not there and your house is on fire, they're still gonna go to work. They're gonna go to work searching. We train our members that are incredibly skilled to search safely without a hose line being pulled. They're incredible professionals. I can't say enough about your fire department. And it, you know, I can continue all night, so I won't. Did that answer your question, sir? Kinda.
Well, I know that we got the staffing and because of the grant, but are we gonna lose any when that grant money
That
goes?
is above my pay grade. I pray that we don't.
Good answer. You know, my constituent here, what his thoughts are. No, I mean, I'm supportive of finding ways to maintain the staffing levels, especially among fire and police, because that's job number 1 with this is public safety, so. And I think most, if not all of council feels that way as well, so we're going through the process, looking at the budget impacts further down the road. That is when we balloon And part of the reason we balloon is because we do have it figured in the budget right now, for those 42 firefighters to be rolled into, just paid for out of our general fund. So that's currently the plan. That's what I'm gonna keep my foot on the gas for. Again, public safety, number one, and not only for our residents, but for the firefighters themselves, just having that back up there quicker, one other person on the truck. That's definitely at the top of our mind.
I have one other question. Them big trucks. What's the fuel mileage on them? 3.
If we're lucky, there'll be 3. Our heaviest trucks are almost 82,000 pounds.
Yeah,
And they're not very fuel efficient.
Yeah.
But again, it's a trade-off like anything, you know.
right.
There are electric fire trucks. I'm a true skeptic, and I'm a little bit cynical about electric fire trucks because we have a system that's proven, you know, it's been proven for 100 years.
Yeah.
Motorized fire trucks, and I don't think we're gonna be anytime soon exploring that.
I agree with that.
I don't mean to bring up sore subjects, but back in '68, I just bought my first new car from England and was driving over the Kellogg overpass when that fire was completely active. And I read something recently with rainbow trusses, is that what they call it?
What it was, it's a bowstring truss.
Oh, bowstring, okay.
You see these older buildings
Right.
through the community that have the arch,
Right,
half round type, that's
with the
It's
wooden.
called, yeah, arch truss,
Okay.
and we have a lot of them in the
Well,
city.
I read something recently that there'd been another similar incident with one of those. My question is, if like you're at number 22, I mean, I know you know all the streets, you know all the addresses, do you know what buildings have those, so you can?
Absolutely. And-
Right,
And
right.
so there's, every arch truss isn't the same. So a bowstring truss is inherently weak under fire conditions. You have others that are arch trusses, that what we call like a bridge truss.
That are steel.
That are steel
Yeah.
or really heavy wood that don't have the weaknesses of what they call a bowstring truss.
I assumed you would have an inventory like that, and I'm
You bet,
glad to hear you do. Thank you.
you bet.
I had a question, and I don't know if this is for you or for Mike possibly, but in the event that they can't come up with the money in the general fund, to fund all 46 positions, will it be taken into account when moving staff around, the call load for each district and fire station? Because there's a huge disparity between District 3 and District 5 in terms
Yeah,
of
there is.
huge disparity.
So, and we pray that the finances are there
Right.
to maintain our staffing levels and potentially, you know, even increase so we can better serve the public. We have an analytics program right now that analyzes all the data that council funded for us
Right.
3 or 4 years ago. And if we can plug in the data, that, okay, if we only have this number of fire trucks or this many personnel, and then they could figure out the best places for them. But in years past, you know, before the present administration and leadership downtown, both in fire and the city, we spread our firehouses out.
Oh, I know.
And,
It's so political.
you know, if the geographical coverage is important. And, you know, we can, at risk of getting angry looks, we need more firehouse. To meet 1710, which is national standard for response to best serve the community, both for fires, for medical emergencies, for all of that.
I don't think long enough to get 22, and it turned out to be one of the busiest ones, didn't it?
Yes.
Oh, and we had to wait for District 2 and District 5 to get theirs done. We were last on the list,
Yeah.
even though we had the greatest need.
And to that point as well, I think the two spots now that we aren't meeting the national goal is in District 4, West Wichita. And those are the two fire stations we are building currently. One of them we have under construction and one of them we have the land bought and we're going through the design process now. I believe, if you look at further down the line, at the very bottom of our district is another gap that we have that we're looking at filling with the fire station soon after that. Honestly, I can't say I'm not planning for the 42 to be gone, but it's highly unlikely. Like, I mean, that's a hill all done. And I feel like most of the council is there as well.
My thoughts and question for you is, you're talking about infrastructure and the city spreading out. Does the planning committee, if the commission or committee ever call the fire department and say, somebody's looking into this and it's kind of new to us? What's your outtake on it as to whether it's dangerous, whether it's not, do they ever include you?
So part of the planning process has to run through the fire marshal's office and our inspection division. So all these large new complexes and patio homes, condos, these areas you see being developed on the outer fringes of the city, they all have to run through our inspection division. And they have to meet international fire code.
It sounds like you got good communication.
You bet. You bet.
I mean, that's for ingress and egress, basically, not granting permission.
So our Metro MABCD, which is Metro Area Builders Construction Division or Department, they have the building codes that all our apartments or condos, even our residential new builds have to comply with code for safety, for electrical, gas, and all
Right,
those.
right.
So
But I think he's talking about the cost of urban sprawl.
Yes.
yeah.
And that's part of the Places for People plan, that's part of the, try and fill a lot of these, gaps that we have, some of these empty lots. Trying to fill those, that's part of that consideration is stop. I mean, we're all afraid of heights, I guess, here in Wichita, because we just keep spreading out instead of spreading up. So yeah, that is something we definitely take into consideration. And the whole Places for People and Bill, that's, you know, it's kind of controversial among some people. As it's changing the identities of some neighborhoods, but that is definitely something we need to weigh.
There's supposed to be Grinch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aging neighborhood.
And you gotta see, I'll be over there eating breakfast with them or something. Next thing I know, they get that, and they're just gone, and I'm sitting there at the table alone. Again, always thinking of our first responders, drop of a hat, moment's notice. They're in something that we are not, we've never been through, so again, all the appreciations.
Now.
I'm gonna ask if there's anyone from the public who wants to speak on an item that's not on the agenda.
Please. You guys have 5 minutes and please get your name and address and you can come to the podium.
No podium that
Oh, we don't have.
It was distracted with all the.
Anyway, oh, I thought we had one up there this entire time.
Stand in that general area.
Please here.
The podium area.
Anyone here? Anyone that was-
If there's a member of the public who wanted to speak, is there anyone?
Or sing.
Or sing, or dance, or. Yeah, rendition of
Magic
some
tricks?
Shakespeare.
Big on magic tricks. Making a lot of cruises.
Into new business. We have anything. On 2024 00240.
Yes, thank you. And first, Councilmember Hoheisel, no one's ever accused me of looking a little small, so I will refrain from the
It's
It
comparative.
does look very, it does look great, so. My name is Brad Etherly, I'm the senior planner for MAPD. We are discussing on 2022, or I'm sorry, 2024-240 today. This is an applicant who's requesting a conditional use to permit car washes or detailing services on properties in LC Limited Commercial with a waiver to supplementary use regulations found in the Unified Zoning Code. This is a 0.8665 acre combined properties, generally located on the south side of East Kellogg Drive and bordered by South Glendale Avenue, south, I don't know how to pronounce that, El Paco Avenue, there you go, thank you. The specific addresses are 4901 and 4925 East Kellogg Drive. The subject site is developed with buildings that have been used as vehicle equipment sales. And the applicant will continue to use these properties as such. It is also requesting to permit auto detailing on the properties. So a car wash is defined by the Unified Zoning Code as an establishment engaged in cleaning or detailing motor vehicles, whether self-service or automated. So he's not really looking to do car wash. It's really about the detailing of the cars. And because that definition of car wash includes auto detailing, that's what we've got. The car wash is subject to those special provisions, whether it's principal use or an accessory use, which in this case it would be the accessory use. And the applicant is not proposing to have any kind of car wash or detailing service that is open to the public at these locations. These bays would be used for detailing with occasional washing of vehicles intended for inventory that they have at the dealership. And then they would have detailing for appointment only from the public. So it's not like people would be coming in like you've seen in club car washes or something like that constantly. This is a very small time operation, mostly detailing. Those special use regulations, they are listed in the report. There's a whole slew of them. He meets all of them except for one, and so he's asking for a waiver. Read that special use regulation, so I'll call that one out. So this one is about setbacks from residential properties. Basically, all structures should be set back 60 feet when they are abutting residential zoning district. And I don't know if you can scroll down and get out of the way, do like the aerial map. So, you've got, this actually go down to zoning. Yeah, so all of these, here on the kind of the south and southeast portion of his property are MF 29, which is a multifamily residential district. And so that's what's causing him to meet these special use regulations. But if you go back up to the aerial, these buildings, there's going to be bays here and I think a bay in this general vicinity. They are within that 60 feet. And so he's just asking because it's already established. And those bays are established already, but they were out of use for a while. So he has to come back and basically apply as if they were never there, but they're within that 60 feet setback. So he's asking for a waiver from that. Off-street parking requirements would only be applicable if the applicant remodels or alters the existing buildings, such that the value of the remodeling exceeds 50% of the value of the structure. That's not being proposed, so that's something for the future. And then according to the city of Wichita Landscape Code, it would not be required to adhere except for, again, if redevelopment or renovation occurs, or there's an increase of 30% of the gross floor area. Again, that's not being proposed, just kind of, if that happens in the future, those things will have to be adhered to. There is a screening requirement and alongside the back of the property is a 6-foot screening fence. So that satisfies that screening requirement. Properties to the north across East Kellogg Drive, and Highway 54, they're zoned TF3, 2-family residential. They're developed with single-family dwellings. Property to the east across South El Pico, is that right? Thank you. Is zoned LC and is developed with a strip office center. Property to the south of, I don't remember which one is 4901, I'm gonna guess it's this one, is zoned LC, yeah. And it's developed with multifamily, and then property to the south of this one is MF 29 is developed with single family. Property to the west across South Glendale is zoned LC and is developed with a gas station convenience store. Just a little bit of history on this one. In 1971, these sites were actually 4901 was platted in 1971 as part of the Jim Burns edition. This site was platted in 1966 as part of the Schmidt edition. In 1988, the subject properties did receive a use variance to prevent new and used car sales. And then in 2006, the subject property was included in a request to establish a planned unit development. That was denied by City Council. So all of that's kind of past case history. Subject site does have street frontage on 3 sides, South Glendale, South El Pico, and then the frontage road, Douglas and Kellogg, or I'm sorry, Kellogg, not Douglas. Wichita Transit has both northbound and southbound service at the intersection of South Oliver Avenue and East Orange Street, approximately 15/100ths of a mile from the subject site. And all city services already serving the site. Going on to the conformance to the plans and policies, you can scroll down to the future growth map, and that one right there. You can see that it is within what is new residential, but I think that we'll all agree that that's probably not going to be built with homes anytime soon. So we feel like the location of the subject site is established on a commercial lot with within a larger commercial corridor. We think that that's fine. The Wichita Places for People plan, basically it's encouraging infill, and we think that is doing that job. So based on all the information that we have and the golden rules, we do believe that this should be approved a lot, as well as the waiver to the supplementary use regulation number 3. And then we can just take a look at the pics real quick. Just scroll down. Yeah, so this is looking at the west property from Kellogg, and this is looking at the eastern portion of the property from East Kellogg. This is looking from Glendale east. So this is looking kind of behind. You can see that 6-foot fence there into the multifamily behind that eastern portion. And then this is looking kind of head on to that multifamily development behind the 4901, looking across East Kellogg. Now we're looking west across El Pico into the 4925. It's looking away from the property across El Pico. And then this
You
is
can't
looking,
use the second language.
yeah, and then this is looking across Kellogg from that 4925. This is, you can see that this building, how close it is. These are the single family homes. You can also see that this has that screening fence, but it's really close, but it is not right on the property line, but it is pretty close. And then this is looking behind that 4925, what's there at that single family house. And I think that's it. So with that, I don't think the applicant or their agent, I don't even think they have an agent, is here. So I can answer questions the best I can.
Do you have any questions?
The lighting,
I'm sorry?
the lighting that they're gonna put up,
Sure.
is it gonna be on the outside of the buildings and affect those people that they're wanting the?
Sure. So we would have to, their lighting, I believe, is part of the special use regulations that are included, so they would have to adhere to those. But also, they would have to just adhere to the zoning code that's already there as well, and I think that that's what it states. And then on top of that, no string type lighting would be permitted. So, we're always making sure that lights don't bleed into neighboring properties as much as possible, so.
Yeah, see, that would be my main concern, because if I lived behind there and it was that close and my bedroom was on the back and the lights were coming through, that would not be good.
Yeah, they'll have to meet the code standards.
The response from the neighborhood.
Haven't heard anything.
That answers my question. Thank you.
I think that's the only two I have at this point. I wish that he was here or one of the representatives was here.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important that they let us ask them questions as well, because that shows that they really are interested and fully invested.
Wouldn't disagree.
Well, based on the fact that there has been no complaints or other input from the neighbors, I would make the motion that we accept the recommendation.
Whoa, we've got to.
Oh, we got more?
questions.
I didn't see
We've got
anyone.
any questions yet?
Well, hold my motion then.
Hold your motion.
Hey.
Any more
Don't
questions?
get rowdy.
Oh, I did have a question, just confirming, so there are existing wash bays there, they're just gonna remodel them and actually use
I
them?
don't even think they're gonna remodel them.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they're just going to use them. Basically, it's been out of use for enough period of time that they have to go through this process in order to be able to use them. And like I said, they've got, I think, 3 or 4 here. These would all be detailing with one car wash here, and then this would all be detailing. Again, it all falls under the car wash term. But again, it's not gonna be like a club car wash where traffic is just going through constantly. This is more for their inventory with some by appointment detailing situations.
They're also gonna still sell cars on that lot?
Yes,
So it's-
and they're zoned properly to do
Yeah.
that.
Any more questions from that?
As small as that is there a reason they have to have 4 stalls? I mean, that's a lot of detailing.
No, that's just what's already there. So I think that that's just.
They're not gonna tear them down.
No. They may not even use all of them all the time, but they're,
I mean, it's on appointment only.
yeah,
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta know a lot of people to. How do you get a?
it's gonna be a pretty
Land.
small time operation, I think. I mean,
It
The way he
it
talks-
just has that, it doesn't pass the sniff test. It just seems weird. Like it's one of those staking things. They come in and they get a zone change and then they come back later, a year later after doing nothing. And then they put up something without having to go through dad.
Start washing all the cars a block away, they're all to the other dealerships. There's dealerships all along that area.
It clears the conditional use, not a zone change.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the fact that
They're
they're
not,
added
they're not changing the
before,
zoning.
kind of, I'm not that concerned since it was previously in place. and-
Right, it kind of wilted away and now.
Yeah, who knows, something could happen during COVID or whatever.
Cars weren't selling, so they can't wash.
Any other questions from the dad?
Is it time to unleash my motion?
Not yet.
No.
Somebody else?
We have to go to the public first.
Oh, that's right.
We
I'm
gotta
sorry.
allow public
Oh,
comment.
you'd think I'd learned that by now, wouldn't you?
Any questions from the public? Back to the dad.
Oh, you're all nice. You're on.
Here you go. All you.
Oh, well, you want me to restate my motion for the record?
Yes.
Based on lack of input from people in the neighborhood, the area, and the presentation, I would move that we accept and encourage or endorse the recommendations presented to us.
I'll second that.
Got it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those not say nay.
Nay.
We have 2 nays.
That is 8-2.
Well, I respect that.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good holiday.
And you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take it. We'll have this thing works.
3 no's. That's all.
3 no's? Who was the other no?
He didn't vote.
You didn't vote?
Yeah, I was,
What were you meaning to vote?
no,
Okay.
I was so busy, you know.
He was paying attention to what he's supposed to do.
Right, I'll send Brad a.
He was going through Robert's rules.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Trying to figure out what to do next.
We don't have a board, thingy, right?
That's right.
Board updates is all of you can talk whatever you wanna talk about, and Mike usually gives.
We just get that.
Okay.
No.
Can I ask a question, Richard?
Yes.
Was I missing something? You said no. What was your objection? Just curiosity, it doesn't matter. And if you don't want to say, don't say.
Well, the guy wasn't here. I like when someone's.
Okay, I honor that.
Good point.
Okay, I'm just curious.
It is not a requirement they attend, and this is the owner of a business that is currently open. So,
It's always better to have the applicant than their mouthpiece.
that's true. He's also a small business owner who's currently,
And
sometimes we're a little harsh on people with that one.
are we on off agenda now?
We are on the board agenda.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I assume you're aware that there's a new homeless encampment east of Hydraulic, south of the northbound on-ramp to I-35.
It's not new, but.
Well, no, but it's growing.
Yeah, yes, and when we're done, if everybody else, whenever anybody else has anything to discuss, I'll talk about that.
Okay.
Anything else from the rest of the board? Any updates before I get going? All right, so yeah, I'll run through. This is a busy time of year. We had an 8-hour meeting yesterday. I'm still a little fried from that. Still not as bad as the 2 10-hour meetings we've had earlier. I am now a coffee drinker, like a full-on coffee drinker. Before about a month and a half ago, I'd had 2 cups in my entire life. So, yeah, so I cut that soda a couple of months ago, and now I got a new vice, addiction, so. But I had to have something to keep me going. At this last meeting, one thing we voted on was water rates. This makes a lot of noise every time it comes up. We only charge what it takes to run, the water plant. To make sure that it's a solvent fund, make sure that we're meeting our debt obligations. If we don't run it a certain way and have projections a certain way, we get downgraded with our debt rating. So, we do have to do these. This one was a little higher than was originally projected, inflation adjusted, so, it's not something we wanna do. One thing we are doing is we are taking out, the proposed increases in late fees and return checks. We're looking at the return checks as well. This is something I'm very mindful of because if it's expensive to be poor. If you're struggling already to pay your bills, the last thing you need is another $35 return check fee. And the late fees aren't a lot. Right now, it currently sits at 1.5%, which for a normal water bill would be about $1 in late fees. They proposed changing that to 5%. That is more in line with most communities of our size. But again, we don't have to do that. So we are looking to keep that at 1.5%. So we did pass the rate changes, but we have not passed the late fee adjustments yet. And again, I think we're gonna rework that, keep it at 1.5% and see what we can do as far as the return check fees. So that was yesterday. That always gets a lot of noise. When we raise the city council and just the city as a whole, that'll be coming up to our pay raises for the entire city. That always gets folded in. You guys can attack me all you want, raising my pay, but it's really raising a lot of people's pay when we do that, just the pay adjustments. So that water rates into the year, we get hammered every year. You know, Merry Christmas to City Council, that's what we get, but just being open with you about the process and some of those payments. We did listen to the proposal for the FOP contract. It passed the FOP union vote 88%, which is a pretty dang high number considering how union contracts are usually voted nowadays. So they seem pretty happy with it. I'm looking at it, it's expensive, a little expensive, not a ton, not gonna break us, but a little more than we had hoped. But the thing I'm focusing on it is the Jensen Hughes report. If you guys are all familiar, we had a text message scandal a couple of years ago. So we went and he had his fish in there growling at me too, so I don't think he's got his animals right yet. But we hired an outside group to come in and take a deep dive. This is what they do. They've done it with a number of police departments. What's going on with the culture of the police department? What's going on with some of the practices, the internal practices as well? Promotions, discipline, a lot of things there as far as recommendations for us to provide the best police force we can for you guys. You know, we want to support our boys in blue. We all support our boys in blue. We also have to make sure that we crack down on the bad apples, the few bad apples that there are, because it's what our community deserves. And quite frankly, it's what WPD deserves. Nobody hates a bad cop more than we do. Those are part of the process. Last year during the negotiations, we got one of the big ones about officers being able to see essentially the case before them. They would be the last one, if there was a complaint, to have the complaint, and they would have access to everything that's against them. So we got rid of that with last year's, to where they go through the same process that everybody else does. And there's a few more suggestions that we are looking at this year. Some of them are being solidified with this contract. Some of them they are still working on. So that'll be part of the presentation this week as well, is where do we still have some work to go as far as Jensen Hughes suggestions and what is being solidified in this current contract. So I can't tell you if it's going to be hour 4, hour 7, you know, the council meeting. You might go back after after it's done and watch it again if you want, and just find some updates, find some concerns, anything like that. We did listen to it at the end of the last council meeting, so probably around hour 7. So if you do want to go back and just get a full thorough presentation, I would suggest looking at that. Yeah, Mike?
When raises come up for the police and the fire department and stuff like that, does that affect the average person working for the city, the clerks, the secretaries?
No, just the ones within WPD.
Okay, well, yeah, but does it start snowballing to the head unions representation? And I see the county manager's gonna get a 10% raise.
Not to outside WPD. There were some compression issues because FOP only represents, they represent most.
My question is, does the average employee look forward to any kind of incentive raise when he sees the police and the fire department getting there?
Not unless they're part of
When do you guys get raised?
SEIE. They do have, we do have, that's what I was speaking about earlier, is we do have raises programmed in, or cost of living adjustments.
We have an
factored in.
annual raise for non-union employees. And then there are 3 different unions that have different marketing in the city for employee groups: SEIU, the firefighters, and the police.
And Teamsters too.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're not in one of those special groups there, one of those unions, you get the normal pay adjustments that are scheduled.
I want to back up a minute to the water rates. I don't have a problem with them raising the water rates. You gotta do what you gotta do. I think the late charges ought to be upped. I would up it to 10 or 15%, because it's the same as when they're late paying rent to me. I charge $75. Anything over $500, there's a $75 late fee. So I can't charge by the day or anything else. So if you charged it 10%, I need to get my water bill paid, have 1.5%, let that one go. And I think the stiffer the penalties, I'm not late on my bills. When I am, I get stiffed. Which Wellington's the one that's messing with me now, but yeah, they getting set up because they're complete off schedule what Wichita is, but I think it ought to be a stiff fight when they go into it. And same way, I don't know what you're talking about, a hot check, but I think it ought to be a mandatory $50 or.
I appreciate that perspective. I mean, they're getting they're getting fined by the bank as well, you know, for a return check. So it's just, do we pile on it, and a working family, you know, maybe it's a couple days late, or.
How many hot checks a year do you write?
Me?
Yeah.
My wife writes all the hot checks.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, and currently with current staffing levels, we are now 46 open spots in WPD. Whereas about a year and a half ago, we were over 100. So Chief Sullivan's made a lot of progress. He's gotten out there, busted his butt as far as recruiting goes. Pay adjustments, I'm sure, help as well, but so we are making a lot of progress there as well.
Do you have a current class? Do you have a current class?
They are about to graduate. It's over 30.
Great.
Yeah, I can't tell you for sure how much, but yeah, then they'll go through a couple of months. Hey, buddy.
I thought I had curbed you by unplugging the mic, I'm sorry.
No.
He wants the fan on, apparently.
Yeah, he does that at home all the time too.
He was plugging, playing with it when it was plugged in.
Uh-oh.
Busted.
When Ramsey was here, I brought this to his attention, and I was a truck driver, been in all 50 states. Canada's gonna be the 51st, but that's right. But when I'd get stopped, every one of them was in a uniform, and automatically puts you in a different perspective. You get stopped today, you look at some of the cops today, you don't even know they're cops. You don't know the police cars. If you're driving down the road and your phone's not working and you need a cop, 3 of them pass you, they're just one cop. We need marked cars. I understand the unmarked cars, and they say, well, they bring more at auction and this and that and the other, which is probably true.
They do what?
But you give respect when somebody's in uniform. And like I tell everybody, I watch a lot of cops, and the ones that are in uniform get a lot more respect out of the people than the ones that ain't. They still have the same problems, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
What's interesting hearing the perspectives, because there's some people out there who think we give them too much military gear, and when they get pulled over,
well, you gotta have that, but being in some kind of a uniform, standard uniform helps. I mean, the highway patrol does the same thing. And things have changed where now you gotta have the body armor, or you don't go home that night. So you put that in perspective too.
Mama's here, so now.
Well, he told me about 30 minutes ago she was here.
Yeah,
When I was carrying him, he said, Mom, and I said, I don't see her, babe.
He sensed her, he sensed her getting out.
Richard, to your point, for the benefit of others, if you see a Ford Explorer following you and it does not have a roof rack, it's a police vehicle.
It doesn't have a what?
A roof rack. The civilian vehicles have roof racks,
Yeah,
just for your information.
I don't worry about it most of the time.
Well, it's just
I'm
nice to be
either
able to
guilty or
identify.
I'm not. So,
It's nice to be able to identify if somebody's
yeah.
run you down in a civilian vehicle claiming to be a cop, he's probably lying to you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
In response to that,
Yes, sir.
they work undercover, seen them in pickup trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Seen them in old beat up old cars that I wouldn't drive.
Deer vehicles.
Cause it's probably because they're trying to
Nice
pull off
to
something.
know there, Councilman.
Public Works approved. Any more discussion on that or?
Other than going from 4 lane to 2 lane back to 4 lane is just stupid.
Thank you very much.
Mike,
Just, this last, somebody else speak?
go ahead.
Just this last week, I had Oliver and Harry, I was going eastbound and a fire truck was coming the other way and we were all pulling over. But he had so many lights flashing, I couldn't tell that he wanted to turn left and go south on Oliver. I mean, we were stopped, but you couldn't tell which was the turn signal because there was some, and I know they need the lights, you know, to help get through the traffic. But I thought, it's a good thing.
That's
nobody
what
ran
Ann
it.
and I was talking about, some of
Yeah.
that. The idea is to stop. If everybody stops,
They can do whatever they need to do.
they can do whatever they need to do.
Well, most of us did, but there's always that one person that,
We encountered that on the way here tonight.
I just enlarged the blinker.
Okay.
When does the new system
It wouldn't
come
do
into
anything.
play? Where it
The
goes
new-
to your car and it tells you that there's a emergency vehicle. We haven't got that yet?
I heard about that.
Oh, I think it'll be a blessing because these people that have their stereos up loud, and shut the music off and it'll say there's a fire department coming your way, pull over.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid they're gonna go over that app and my wife will say, where are you? I need you.
Right.
Oh, she can already track you. I just gotta come over and say that.
First one that.
But
No,
it's going
I-
on your phone?
It'll be on your car too if you have a newer car.
Yeah.
Okay, oh.
Yeah.
Not on your radio, but actually on the car.
Well, it
Kind of
goes
like
through your
the
radio.
stuff.
Like my Sirius radio, whenever something comes through, my phone rings, it stops everything.
Yeah.
My GPS, it stops everything.
23 Subaru don't do that.
Aren't you special?
No,
Well, you should have bought a higher class one.
That's it.
Up the payments a little bit there.
Like future agenda items, I think isn't the police new record system coming up?
that's right.
Yep, we are.
I have. There's only one person on the city council that was on there when the current system was purchased. The system before Niche we had for 20 years and it worked great. And then the chief before Chief Sullivan, whose name I will not mention, decided that it was outdated and had a whole list that he presented to city council about the things that the system wouldn't do. So they bought this new, well, wait a minute, back up. There were a number of meetings held with the city manager, the county manager, the police chief, the sheriff, the district attorney, the 911 ops person, and I think one other, but I forget who, maybe county fire, because they all use the same record system. And they begged us to go with that system. All of them did, because everybody could communicate with each other. And the police chief refused. He absolutely, because, and the city manager didn't make him play nice. The system that they ended up purchasing, the IT manager said, this is a piece of crap system. It should not be purchased. Project management said, this is a terrible system. It shouldn't be purchased. But the police chief, the city manager was so afraid because the city council loved the police chief and he has to keep 4 council members happy all the time. So they bought that piece of shit system that costs, I don't know, several $1 million. And then it didn't even do the things that the old system did. For example, one of the reasons you never get pulled over anymore is because only the handful of officers of the traffic division can issue traffic tickets. Because the new system is so complicated and you have to have a special machine to print off a ticket. We were behind with the state because the system wouldn't interface with the state. So we were behind like 2 years. If you had a wreck, you were SOL. So the taxpayers got to pay for extra help to come in and get all that stuff caught up. It could not track property and evidence, which Mark Bennett, our district attorney, was not one bit happy about that. We had never had issues with losing stuff at property and evidence until we got the system purchased by the police chief. He also put a detective in charge of that transition, which was unheard of. That would normally have been a deputy chief, at the lowest, a captain, nothing lower than that. But you put this detective in there, the detective was promoted twice during the implementation, so the taxpayers got to pay for his raises. And he immediately, when the project concluded, he immediately retired and went to work for that company. So now you guys are paying his retirement at a much higher rate than you would have if we had not purchased that piece of crap system. We haven't even had it, what, 5 years? And now we're having to buy another one. The other one lasted 20 years. So I just want to say, proceed with caution, because the city council was not given accurate information on that. They did not know that all these other meetings had taken place. They did not know that IT had said, this is a piece of crap. Oh, and then we find out the big hacking thing, they got in through this lovely computer system. When the city got hacked, that was the system they got in through. I knew it was, as soon as I heard it, I knew it. It cost us, as taxpayers, that system cost us millions and millions and millions of dollars, only because one
Got a friend that was hacked.
charming
Like printing press.
chief was able to push it through, and we are the city which does not transparent.
It's
I
a-
How
guarantee
you
you,
really feel.
nobody, did anybody in here know that? I mean, how transparent is the city which?
It's only money.
It's only money, our money.
We got more.
Seems to me they had a story about the property. you run out of money.
Property and evidence, yeah, they did, but they didn't mention that all these other,
Yeah,
the multitude of
never
issues
had a problem.
with that computer system.
That
Yeah.
asks everything.
Maybe I should start writing high
Yeah.
checks so I can help
And
out
we
the city
didn't,
budget.
we didn't save the old data, so we lost all of our historical data.
Or it's in the
Yeah,
cloud
Janet's-
somewhere.
Janet's referring her, a lot of inside information from her time
Right.
in the city here. Yeah, Niche, the system that she's talking about was not as advertised. Chief Sullivan has gone to the extremes. Bennett has signed off on it. It's Axon. It's what we currently have for the body cameras. So we are actually getting a pretty good discount for it. It interacts with all of our court documents. It's gonna make our courts run a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. He's really gone out of his way to make sure like all the traps that you're talking about, we followed. So IT's on board with it. I haven't heard anybody objecting to the new system yet. You're right. It's like a lot of other things on council. We're trying to catch up on a lot of.
Cleanup?
Yes,
Say it.
I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it.
He's not that charming, but he's very competent. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Leave that out of the minute.
Question.
Yeah.
When you implement anything new or consider buying it, does anybody pick up the phone and call a city of comparable sizes?
Yeah.
To say, what are you using? How is it working?
We do now anyways. I can't speak to 5 years ago, but we do now.
I mean, you try and find out what's going on in the real world before you.
I
Don't do
just-
anything without checking with Dallas first.
I just got back from we have 2 conferences a year for the National League of Cities. And I just got back from one, and this was one of the things, the Axon representatives were there. So not only am I getting to talk to other cities and what's going on in their cities, talking about affordable housing, talking about homelessness, how they address it. I got to take a tour of their version of the MAC. It was in Tampa. It was a lot different than ours, but that's different climate, different temperatures. You can address things a little different there than you can here in Kansas. But I did speak to the Axon representatives, and I did speak to some people, because I knew this was coming up as well, from some of the other cities. And I've nothing but good things to hear about this system.
You're talking about affordable housing. I'll tell you what's wrong with affordable housing. Section 8.
Yeah.
I don't know who's running what, don't really care. I was pulled in for an annual inspection. They were using California laws, and they've been going to that for a long time. The inspector that come and inspected was from Iowa. The letter I got was from California. And I have to comply and set everything up. They're hitting me with a stove because the girl put a a glass top stove in and it broke and 3 of the burners work. And I said, it's not mine. I'm not replacing it. Well, I guess we're not gonna pay you. Well, I guess she's out on the streets then. I said, because I'm not fixing something that ain't mine, and you guys aren't paying me for that. But when you get into stupid crap, and that's what it is, they went from, used to be 2 to 3 foot from any water outlet, you had to have a GFI, ground fault interceptor, or interrupter, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But now it's 6 foot. So now, the same house that qualified a year ago, I had to go back in and spend, I think they're up about $15 now, where you can put the other ones in for about $3. And that's where your affordable housing is going, out the door, because of stuff like that. So I'm one of the few landlords that rent Section 8, and that is why they get out, because it's nitpicking,
Yeah.
is what I call it. A screen storm, I didn't tear the screen, you got signed off on it a year ago, talk to her.
Yeah. Well, when the conference in the fall is usually a random place now we can see like what different cities are doing.
Yeah.
The one in the spring is in DC. And we gotta go up and try and get appointments with different departments. This year, I'm going, last year I went for the Federal Rail Administration.
Yeah.
And UPS talking about the mailboxes keep getting moved out to the curb. This year I'm going to HUD, so I'll make sure and take those into consideration, but I have some other issues with HUD and some of their guidelines regarding low income housing tax credits.
Well, it's just like the same thing, if you got an apartment complex and you're changing the carpet in this one, the neighbor lady's on Section 8, I want new carpet, and all she gotta do is make a phone call, and you either put the new carpet in, or they take her off take you off Section 8, she's still on it, she can move somewhere else. And that's why I took all my apartments, which would have been very affordable, and that's why I took them off, over the same reason. I put in a house, solid wire smoke alarms. 2 weeks later, they changed that it had to be a carbon monoxide smoke alarm. It wasn't a running change. When you change that out, you gotta go to it. I got re-inspected. Oh, you gotta change that out. Cost me another $80 when it was over said and done. And then one wasn't 2 weeks old, so.
Well, send me a list, and I'll bring it to them when we go to DC. Okay, also, the day after Thanksgiving, the MAC opened, the emergency shelter, Park Elementary School up off of North Broadway, North Market there. And I've talked about this again, 250 is the capacity there for the emergency shelter. We're also in building now, adding on, looking to add on some affordable housing pieces, also putting office space in there for care workers, for addiction counselors, for our housing department as well. Again, trying to get at the root cause the best we can, instead of just simply playing whack-a-mole, moving people from here to here, shelter to shelter, and getting them to camp. To circle back to what Paul was saying earlier, and the MAC part will be going fully in the spring is when we're gonna be starting to get the people in there. We're working with them now the best we can, but that's when the construction's going on, office space being added. And then the affordable housing piece is something that we're wanting to build on as well, because we want people to see the possibility. You can have your own space, it'll be transitional housing. If you go to all your appointments, you're taking the drug test and whatnot, you're not gonna be in the bunk beds in the emergency shelter. You can eventually work your way into getting your own space, and you can continue to get stabilized, continue to go to your appointments, and then eventually you can move on to your own housing outside of that. So it's all part of a process. The housing piece is something that we had some hope. We finished with and this is what I was talking about with HUD. And this is more of a state regulation, but every year there's low income tax credits awarded. And it's based on projects. You bring a project forward, they score it. They say, this is a great project. We're gonna give you some of the tax credits here. There's a 9% that's in the spring, that's really competitive. And it's almost burdensome how some of the qualifications are. Out of the last 80 awards for 9% tax credits, which is the big one, Wichita has received 4 out of the last 80. We're 17% of the state's population, and that's what we're getting as far as affordable housing tax credits. It gets worse. So there's another batch that's in the fall that we are a lot more successful in, the 4%. So they're about half of what the big ones are. We had the highest score this year for the MAC, trying to get some funding to help with the affordable housing piece on the MAC. We were denied these tax credits despite the fact that we had the highest score, because there's a regulation in there that they cannot be within 1.5 miles of a previous low-income tax credit project. So is this going to affect Russell, Kansas? Is this going to affect Jetmore, Garden City? No, it's going to affect Wichita, you know, where we have we just have this center of need right in the middle of our city. So you can't have 2 projects within 1.5 miles of each other. That really limits us as far as us being able to attack the problem. And that means it's a 3-mile radius. It's 1.5 miles in each direction. And the one that they have is just pretty close to the MAC there. So I went and spoke in front of a housing committee on the state level a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of the main things I brought up. They made a motion right there to ask the regulatory body, the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, to reconsider. So they made that motion that passed unanimously. We'll see if that helps us get any tax credits going forward. I just wanted to add that into, because that's what I'm talking about, what I want to go and write that HUD for when I go up there in the springtime. And a lot of times it does, this is the type of process that'll help stimulate some change.
Did you see the news the other night when they was talking about a guy that was gonna go into park? He was a homeless guy, and he said the problem they got is if he gets a job, he has no way to get there and back. And that was,
Yeah.
and that's why he kept failing, and then the drugs become back into play and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Labor Max, I don't know if they still do it. I'm sure they do. If you work for them, they give you a bus pass to get you there, get you back, or they'll come and take 3 or 4 people to a job if that's what it is.
We are working on municipal IDs right now. There's a state law, again, you gotta love the state, that we can't hand out IDs because they could be used for voting fraud or voting, whatever they're concerned about. Now, we interpret the law as saying if we put not a voting ID on these IDs, they can still operate. And it's mostly gonna be out of libraries and the MAC. So that way unhoused people can come and get IDs, like we're conscious of that. And then we'll also have the option of us putting bus fare on there as well. So they can use these IDs, ride the bus to and from work. The Workforce Alliance will be in there as well. So I think there is gonna be some room for different jobs to be able to work on transit with different people in there, different clients that we can get into, good jobs as well. So we are currently waiting for the Attorney General to sign off on our municipal IDs. Still waiting. It's been a couple of months. Gotta love Topeka. So yeah, just a little more, I appreciate that, because I do hear that. Transit is definitely a need. Debbie?
If that doesn't work, what about grants to buy bus passes? I mean, we have grants where I work and that's what we buy.
No, I mean, I think we can incorporate that with the MAC, and we do that at certain times, especially during the summer. We make certain lines free, so that way we can ensure that unhoused people especially can get in out of the elements and not die in 112-degree temperatures. So that might be something that we can work into a program like that. So I'll make a note of that and maybe reach out to you guys and get some more input there.
Well, yeah, and some of the drug testing and everything, reach out and I can put you in contact with the right people up there.
Appreciate it.
Because we have a big population that we have to drug test.
She's a drug test dealer.
Richard?
Um,
You still have to live next to me.
we have, we do have some encampment ordinances coming up here. That what you're talking about down there off of Hydraulic, that one is really complicated. Because the issue is, when you break up a camp that big, it turns from one big camp into 30 smaller camps. And it stretches it out, and we're going through just how to take it down, trying to get it there responsibly. But we do have ordinances coming up to really kind of crack down, or more, I would say it's more, give us the ability, using discretion, to be able to more efficiently take down problem campsites. Because there's a difference between people pitching tents in the middle of a neighborhood where you see all sorts of bad stuff going on, or something that's a little more out of the way. One of the issues, and Becca and I know this firsthand because we've worked on a couple of them, a lot of times camps spread or pop up on private property. And it's almost impossible, especially if they're out of state, to get them to sign an affidavit saying that they want people off of their property. That was the one behind Walmart's that popped up 8 or 9 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's spread across four different property owners. We didn't know, and the railroads.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole other separate, you guys have heard me gripe about the railroads before. Yeah, so, it's to give us a little more ability to enact on cleanups on private property. It's also, we're taking it in-house instead of paying contractors to go and do these cleanups, that way we can get on it quicker. There's a provision in there, and I don't know how I feel about this, that we currently our ordinance states, if there's no room in shelters, we can't take down the camps. I don't think that's gonna be an issue going forward because we have the MAC. I think we're always gonna have room in shelters from this point forward. But where I have an issue with this is because a bed open in the MAC is not necessarily the best option for a group of people, especially women who have been assaulted, women who are escaping the sex trade, sex trafficking. It's difficult for them to go into a place where it's 80-90% men and you're co-meeting. So I'm working through that. I don't know exactly what the fix is. Unprompted, we actually had 3 unhoused people come and speak in front of council yesterday. And one of them was a woman, and she brought up this point exactly too. I had raised it the week before in workshop, but she let us know, a lot of the people that she works with, this is an issue that they face. So I'm looking at possible alternatives to that part of it. Also, currently on the ordinance is, we can jail and give you up to $500 of fine, for camping like this.
And what's the odds of that getting paid?
Exactly. We're lowering it from 500 to 200, but then also community service with it. But yeah, you're taking somebody
I
who,
would like to see a program where somebody goes and gives them trash bags and said, you got a tent here, if you'll keep the trash picked up, we're gonna leave you alone. Because most of them, a lot of them, you go down at Harry McLean, and that's a pretty clean area. It's along the river, but somebody goes and gives them trash bags and tells them to take the trash up on top of the hill and they'll pick it up. And they seem to do a pretty good job of it.
well, homeless, it can be worked off, the fines can be worked off, that's part of the changes as well. What I'm wanting to look at is, we have drug court where if you're an addict and you have an issue, instead of going through normal court and getting pounded and getting something that's not appropriate to actually help you out, they can recommend different programs instead of sending you to jail. I'm looking at, and it's been something that's popped up in a few places, homeless court. So instead of we're sending you to jail, like you go to this court, and then the judge can point you in the direction that he feels you need to go. So that's something I'm gonna suggest as well for the city to look at, is to set up a homeless court. That would be a little more appropriate and a little more efficient, because what we gotta do is get people into the programs that we need. And simply threatening people with jail time's it's not gonna drive people to the MAC, which is what we want. If you ask the hot team, they say, if we start jailing people, if we can get a hold of 7 out of 10 people to talk to us, it'll drop to 3 out of 10. So it's really actually counterproductive to what we're trying to do. So that's gonna be a recommendation that I'm gonna ask as well to, council to look at when these ordinances come.
And a lot of them have income that they could do something better if they wanted to.
Some of them, yeah, and that's, a lot of them don't have the mental capacity at this
Yeah.
time, you know, they do qualify for, disability or social security, so that, social workers at the MAC, they'll be following a person's case, and that way we're not just handing it off from person to person. They can know their clients, they can actually, look, here's a revenue source right here, we can get you into housing with this disability payment here. This is what we need you to get on this medication, we need you to attend these courses, and just have these regular check-ins. So that's gonna be part of the MAC as well as the social workers, taking it case by case.
There needs to be follow-up care like a year or
Yep.
2 and 3 later.
Yep, the support services all around.
And
If they continue to participate in that.
Right.
So many start and then they kind of waver away from it, then Sister Becky deals with that all the time with Dear Neighbor. They work out real good, she get everything caught up, 2 weeks later, they're right back doing the same crap.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes, you know, not to get too biblical here, what Jesus say, 7 times 70, right?
Yeah.
So they test us with this.
my nephew's fighting alcoholism. The longest he's been clean in the last 4 years was 10 days. And he made the mistake of going to the casino and, he lost his $20 and he was good there. They had the game on in the lounge. Next thing you know, had a beer in his hand.
Yeah. And just, we all gotta recognize, I mean, I think most of us here have had some good times, you know, when we were younger.
Sad, good time.
Yeah. You know, I don't have this demon. I can put it down, but I know a lot of people.
They were 40.
What's that?
Some of us had good times when we were 40.
Not me, not me. You saw my good time nowadays, right?
Yeah, he's 2 years old.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have that demon. I could always put it down. But that's just not physically the case with everybody. And so we always gotta be compassionate. We always gotta be looking out for the best ways that we can provide a normal, good life for everybody in our community.
I'm concerned about that back is where it's located and, you know, you wanna drive people or encourage people to go to find homeless resources there, right?
Yeah.
But, you also have to make it so that it's safe for people. So there's a real fine line, I would think, between enforcing a code of conduct so that it's always has a reputation of, no, it's safe to go there.
All right,
You will not be bothered. It's very clean. They don't tolerate anything.
all right.
So then, if there are people that are taken out, then what's the plan? As opposed to letting them back into that neighborhood on the streets?
Well, it's a case by case scenario. It's a low barrier shelter, so unless you are really just messed up out of your mind or really violent or they have a fear for your life because maybe it's a medical condition, you're able to get into the MAC. That's actually a bonus to the community around there because then you don't have people camping outside and waiting. But we are looking at having the hot team out of there and maybe some CP officers as well, stationing out of the MAC. They do have to provide security, so they have hired security services there as well. After this emergency shelter, we have a board that is set up, do fundraising. The city put another $5 million into MAC services over the next 2.5 years. That's ARPA funding. So we have to designate it by the end of this year and spend it by the end of 2026. So $5 million of that is going over those 2 years to help with the MAC funding. Beyond that, we'll throw in a little bit every year. We're hoping county throws in a little bit every year. And we're going to all these businesses and churches, asking for them to contribute as well. That's how they do it in San Antonio with the Haven of Hope that we talk about. It's mostly ran off of private donations, so.
So if somebody comes in to the center, they don't have any history of mental or drug abuse, and they start acting, so they have a nerve breakdown or something. Are they able then to get transferred over to the mental
Yeah.
healthcare resources?
Yeah, we, and that's the handoffs, that's what the providers are trying to work right now is to have that process set up. And again, they'll have the security officer, or they can call the mental health group or ComCare to come out and pick them up. Law enforcement will be involved as well.
Do you know if they're gonna ever change the schedule for the hot team? Because everyone on there, every member on that team either works like
Monday through Thursday.
during the day.
Yeah,
Well, that didn't make much sense.
we're about to get them back up to full strength, and there's gonna be some adjustments coming.
Even when they were full strength, that's how they operated.
Yeah, yeah.
We did have them working weekends for a brief period over last summer. I think it was about 3 months.
That's
As a
amazing.
pilot from Councilmember Ballard. So, and they have adjusted a couple of times to see what it would look like. They didn't go back though when they decreased staffing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is once they're back to full staff, they're gonna adjust again.
The full staff number?
Full staff?
Yeah.
Four officers. Yeah.
For district or citywide?
Citywide.
Oh, how handy.
And that's part of the thing, like, if you make 30 camps out of one, and then they're having to go around and hit 30 camps as opposed to dealing with one. Hey, when you guys got some good suggestions for this one,
More better than none.
please let me know. I will appreciate all consideration.
135 up by KU, 9th Street. There's a camp starting in that park. There's only one person there now, but it looks pretty bad.
Yeah. And
So-
that'll be Parks and Recs. They'll be able to get out there and start cleaning that up immediately after these new ordinances are passed. Because again, right now we do it with contractors, and it's a whole process, and it's frustrating, and that's why we're not doing contractors anymore. Learning our lesson and just bringing it in-house, and I think we'll probably save some money with it too.
It looks awful. I'm gonna have the dean call him.
I hear it. Parking is coming up as well. I'll just leave it there. I keep voting no. But I do appreciate that we do have to do something. It's just, they haven't come up with a plan that I can approve of yet. But they are, I think what you guys are gonna get is pretty much the least impactful to you guys. They're talking 75 cents an hour, maybe the first hour free. They're splitting it up between downtown and Delano and Old Town. They're not doing Delano immediately until after the transit center is built, and then we're gonna see. So we'll have to come back and adjust that in the future possibly. Old Town, instead of doing a metered, I think we possibly could be doing something like a CID. That again is for Old Town to decide. Currently, they're paying, I think, $7.50 for a parking spot for the maintenance fee. And they have been paying that fee for 30 years. It has not gone up in 30 years, so we gotta figure a way, and that would take care of Old Town if we can just figure that out. But it's also the parking garages we have to pay for. So that will be coming to council, I think 2 weeks, probably the same time as either next week or the week after. The second week, the 17th, is when the homeless encampments ordinance is coming up. I think maybe next week is parking along with the FOP contract. And some ARPA adjustments as well, so we save everything for the end of the year. Merry Christmas to me, I mean, that's why I look like the Grinch when I come home with the kids nowadays. Debbie?
Parking. How's that gonna affect like automobilia? Are we gonna have to pay to park down there?
I think you would get a special permit for automobilia, to be able, you might have to do that if. But automobilia goes through, Old Town right now, so I don't think it'll be impacted this year, or
It's changing next year where it's going.
is it going back down to Century 2 by Century 2? Okay, we'll see where that is. I mean, we also have the NCAA basketball tournament coming in next year. We have the national ice skating competition coming up here in a month and a half, I think. They're not gonna get me out there on any ice skates, I'll tell you that. Think the news that way. So, yeah.
On that parking, what's the big deal on-street parking? I can understand lot rates being there, but with the lot rate, it should also come with some kind of security. The covered parking where you go up in, that should be paid parking.
Right.
And the only complaint I have down at the city building is I go in there to pay money and I have to pay to park, and that just sticks me out.
Well, if you're there for under an hour, you can park for free.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we just,
It takes you that long to get in the damn building. Oh, you got a knife on you.
Well, it's knives and guns and stuff.
Yeah. Come by the council office, Rich, I'll take care of it, how's that?
I'm curious, particularly in light of this Happiness Plaza deal,
Yeah.
has anybody ever kind
That is
of, these merchants are complaining because their customers like to pay to park. Well, since they're not providing them with parking, like other businesses do, that they factor into their cost of doing business and therefore the price of their goods and services. Has anybody ever put a pencil to how much per parking space it's gonna cost Happiness Plaza to build that lot? Things like that?
I think they did a study, Susan might be a little more knowledgeable of.
I can't.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I know they've done studies on this, they think it makes sense for
Oh,
them.
I've studied, I should have known, there'd be studies.
Yes, always a study. Three.
I think raising to the people, if they're only paying $7.50, is that a month for a parking spot?
I think so, yeah.
I think that ought to be raised.
That's part of the discussion.
That.
And it's either raise those fees or do a CID that takes part of the sales tax that they pay and puts it into the parking. And it's also the Old Town Parking Garage too, which
Yeah.
has a little bit of maintenance and needs to catch up. It's not the worst, but it's up there.
I know it's ancient history, but in the late fifties, my mother worked at an insurance office in Denison, Texas, and they had diagonal parking on the street. She just pulled in, got her parking ticket every day, and on Friday she went down and put her 5 parking tickets and her fines in the box. In the block. It's cheaper than parking, for commercial parking, and she's right in front of the door.
There you go. And I talked about we are reallocating some ARPA funding, scooping it up and putting it into mostly infrastructure, heavy equipment and whatnot. Take some debt off our books a little further down. So that'll be here in the next week as well. Crown, that was another big case, Crown Uptown. We got a lot of conflicting information between the applicant and pretty much everybody else. So we have sent that back to MAPC to study. Like, if you're not familiar, Crown want us to go from around 850 capacity to over 2,000. And if you guys have been to Crown Uptown, they park in the neighborhoods. It's definite, they don't have parking. I think they have 17 spots is what it was.
It's not sufficient for what they got now.
He took out all the seats.
You
and
got
all that.
Dylan's.
But Dylan doesn't want that.
Yeah, and then Dylan's came to MAPC and said, they did not have a parking agreement with them as well, so.
Yeah.
And that was conflicting with what we were told beforehand as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think MABCD would even validate, like it's a 20,000, I don't think that can even fit with our code, so. We did send it back to MAPC, we want them to take a deeper look into it, see exactly what they are eligible for, see what the parking plans, the parking agreements actually are, because we haven't seen any. We also have to where we can at least put a hold on any demolition for up to 180 days. I think there is a process to, I don't know for sure what all we can do. We're looking into what all the options are regarding the Crown. Mike?
Well, isn't there an upside to it? If we let them tear it down, you'd have parking for all the other businesses around?
I'm told that if it gets knocked down, they're doing storage.
Yeah.
Doing what?
Storage.
Is it not a historical building?
No, it's not.
It's not registered. The property owners have to register it, and nobody who's owned the crown has ever done that.
So we need to go over there and pick it until they do.
I'd like to see my dad chain themselves in front of
But don't you think that he's the only one out of state that owns it, and every other building down there is owned by one lady?
there's a couple of
So
different.
there's like
properties.
two,
Yeah,
there's like one owned by one person, then Robin owns like all of that on the side. and
On one side, and then
Yeah,
there's,
across the street.
there's another property owner, yeah, on either side of them.
Gallery.
Yeah, and I think every business within the, yeah, within the 200 feet, I think every business protested it.
Yeah.
So,
It's an awkward situation.
it is, it's one of those interesting ones, zoning cases, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these controversial cases, my mind's kind of made up one way or another. Zoning cases, they get in front of you and you can see multiple perspectives in it, so they are really, really difficult to deal with. We are hearing our OP3 coming up, that's pavement preservation. So this will be the first year that we are doing $2 million extra into the core for concrete street repairs. We are a major benefactor of that. I think almost 30% of that $2 million is going to be going into the 3rd district. So we'll have a list coming up of roads that will be getting worked on this year. And again, that's extra money that's going to be going in from here forward outside of just what was normally allotted. So we are pulling more money into the core also with the dirt roads, pavement. We're putting a lot more investment here in South Wichita and North Wichita than we have in the past. Like,
Yeah, does the city own a concrete producing plant?
I don't think so,
I
no.
don't think buy one, sounds like they need one.
That's socialism, Mike.
And this
I think
competing with
Derby tried to
private,
do one or
private
they have.
business.
So yeah, that's coming before council here coming up. Clap Park, they posted out today. They posted out today, you get a chance to go by there, dog park's just about done. Parking lot there's just about done, the playground looks really, really cool, really awesome. So drive by, take a look. We're gonna get the playground essentially done here within a month, but we will not be able to put the coating down, yeah, for the surface. It has to have cure time. You can't do it in the middle of the winter like this, so the playground won't really be open until next spring, but essentially everything else will be done here within a month.
Dog park needs inspected because there's dogs that can get underneath. It's not, there's gaps under the fencing and between it. They need to tighten it up.
Yeah, Rich let me know about that, and we're gonna go and take another look at it.
They need that parking lot that they put in. Go over there and watch. They pull in, if they're coming north, they pull in that first drive. They need to put some exit only signs on there, entrance only on the other
Yeah,
side.
it's not open yet, and we gotta work with the school. It's actually gonna be back in. So that way you're not running over anybody that you can't see. So when you get there and you pull in and then you back into your space, that's what's gonna be advised. So, yeah, we're gonna work on
I
that.
had to tell everybody that, cause I've seen it too, where they're pulling in, but the angles are all the other way.
Yeah,
And that's scary, people backing in.
well, they shouldn't be backing in yet. They're jumping the gun here. Don't let us, but yeah, I mean, all these are noted, we're gonna make sure and work with the school especially, and just not with people. And I think at least 2 more of them are back in as far as the dog parks go. I think the one in East Wichita and then the one that we recently did in Northwest Wichita, Rooster, I think those both are back in as well. So that's just the way we're going with it nowadays, especially with kids being there. We think it makes it a little safer. Okay, the last 2 things I have, Dad, I love you guys. I love everybody here. You're all like a family.
We got some rough in-laws.
Don't I know it? Next March will be the reappointment process. So I encourage you to take maybe the next month or two, think about if you guys are wanting to stay. If you're wanting to serve, I'd love to have everybody back. Just reach out, let me know. Again, March, we'll have to go through the reappointment process, so, just let me know what you're thinking. And on that, it might,
Yeah, how do you find out? I don't know if I'm on my 6th year, going into my 7th, because I know after 8 years you have to get off. How do you find out where you're at?
yeah, Becca,
She has.
human computer, yeah, human computer here.
I actually
Just
been
show
looking
up
it
till
up
they
now.
tell you can't come.
Yes.
I'm good
This
to go.
technology scares me. And then we are losing a DAB member, 2 DAB members tonight,
I confirmed it.
yeah. Rich,
Oh,
you
you
too?
forget?
Huh?
You
Well,
forgot?
you had said, you didn't say for sure.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
maybe going until
Yeah.
March, but we are losing 2, and if you guys wanna say a few words, I know I've appreciated the salt and vinegar from that table over there over the past couple of years. We all do appreciate your guys' service here. Debbie, you've done a lot as far as helping out like the kids, the dunk tanks and all these fundraisers you do. You do it out of the goodness of your heart. And I really do appreciate that, paying off kids' school lunches. It really shows a lot of 3rd District, South Wichita heart. And Rich, getting out there in the neighborhoods, helping neighbors, the neighbors indeed. Just a number of things you've had your fingers in over the years, trying to improve our community. From the bottom of my heart, thank you both for your service on DAB. And I don't know if you guys want to say anything and.
Thank you. I have to say that at one point, there was people that asked me to run for your job and I said no. I said he does everything that I want done, and why would I want to put in them hours? I said, Mike's more dedicated than I'd ever be, and I appreciate that. I don't think our district would be where it's at without you. So when it comes, if I'm healthy enough, when it comes time to do campaigning, you look me up. I get out and do that, and I'll still be doing fundraisers and car shows. You know, that's why I'm taking a side to this, because I gotta live my life and prioritize.
Yeah.
And I love Wichita, I love our district, I love every one of you. It has been a pleasure getting to know you all and seeing all the dynamics. I'm gonna miss it. I'll come down and sit in the sidelines, you know, but I wanna wish you all well. I'm just getting louder, okay? Just have me on your shoulder saying loud. Thank you, guys.
I will say, if we all agreed on everything all the time, there'd be no reason to have this group. And I've enjoyed agreeing and disagreeing with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rich?
I don't have a whole lot to say, except I just.
Just take ditto.
Yeah. pretty much. Actually, thought of it. No, I just, turning my focus to my, father. You know, I came back to Wichita from the East Coast, because my mother was passing. And I was able to be with her, 24/7. You know, because my job allowed it, and my job allows me to do that with my dad. And I made a commitment when I was young that if I was in a position to take care of them and to make sure that they passed in their own house, that I would do that. And then after having to do that, you know, you sit with your parents for a time and you realize that there are unresolved conflicts, you know, and you become more and more aware of them, more self-conscious. Why am I impatient? Why was I so short with him? You know, and I want to work through all that. So when I say goodbye to him, you know, I was with him in this world. So that's what I'm gonna focus on.
Thank you, Richard.
That's good.
Well, again,
Always want to call him babe.
No relation.
if you want my seat, please take it.
So they kept saying that, and I was like, no.
And what's your contribution to the pay?
To the pay.
Gonna have to buy your replacement, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'll split it with her, huh? Geneva?
I have a question about, the Chief Snow and the whole
Ethics.
statement that she didn't make and did make, and is that, I mean, is everybody okay now or not? From what I read and what I heard, there seemed to be some, people thinking that she got thrown under the bus, and I just wonder if
I
you
can't,
picked up anything like that?
I can't get too much
Oh,
into the details of it. I do know I think the unions declined to appeal. They had 10 days after the judgment to appeal, and they've declined to appeal. If you guys, I think we put it out this morning, the findings of the ethics board. You guys can draw your own conclusions from that. Politics is tricky. It really is, and a lot of moving dynamics with a lot of things. I've just removed myself from the process the whole time and kept my mouth shut. I can't really comment more than that, aside from everybody we all need to make sure that our true goals are the safety, the security, the financial well-being, and the well-being of all our residents in Wichita. And, yeah, people can say what they want about me. If that's what their priorities are, let's work together. So that's how my particular feelings on it.
There's just been a lot of, I've read a lot of comments on Facebook and other social media, and it just seemed,
Well, I wouldn't want my
unpleasant.
house to catch on fire if I was the mayor.
I will say this, I've stopped reading comments on social media. And when I was reading comments on social media and serving at the same time, I can tell you 95% of what they say out there is false. You know, it's when you see the actual inside ball game things going on, it's a lot different than, like I said earlier about raising pay. You know, the way it gets phrased in the media is council raise their own pay again. But it doesn't take into, like, we raised everybody's pay with it, so. You know, there's a lot of clickbait out there, there's a lot of people who have opinions, and that's First Amendment rights, state your opinions on everything. Just always take everything with a grain of salt, just like every other comment you read. I mean, according to everybody out there, the referees are paid off, and that's the reason the Chiefs are gonna win a third Super Bowl this year. That's all bunk. We're just great, don't worry about that.
Don't.
But,
Cardinals fans.
All right, any,
It has nothing to do with the goodness or badness of Wichita, really, but I'm very appreciative of the fact that the turnpike has gone to cashless tolling. Makes traffic move much better, probably a lot less opportunity for accidents and backups at what used to be toll gates. You know, I know Wichita doesn't profit or lose from it, but it's made it a nicer place to live.
and on that note, because we did have a presentation at our district breakfast, next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, 9:30 at the Christian Faith Center at Pawnee and Hillside. We're going to have some of our advisory committees, members of advisory committees come up and just give a brief description of what's been going on over the last year, what's on the plate for next year. I think a couple of minutes each, but it'd be a great source of information for people just to hear what's going on in different aspects of the community. I mean, sustainability board, parks board, et cetera, et cetera. So I encourage you to come out. $5 for a breakfast, a great plate of breakfast. If you don't want to do the $5, I'd throw some in there anyway. So come on in and eat. Everybody come enjoy. I mean, we're a lot happier together when we eat, when we have food here, so.
That's at 9 o'clock, right?
9:30.
9:30?
Yep.
You can show up at 9 o'clock, but it'll just be me bleary-eyed putting on a PowerPoint.
Show up, pay $5, and you gotta go back outside at 9:30 and come back in and pay another $5.
So at the time,
9:30.
no, I said, is it time?
And-
Move to adjourn?
And to your KTA tolling, Paul,
It's up to you all.
to your KTA tolling, I like it getting on and off, but I don't like the way they build because now it should be South Wichita, K-15.
Yeah, they do it by mile marker.
But now it's by the mile marker
Yeah.
and it's all broke down.
Yes.
Cost me more to run to Emporia than it used to.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I don't know who had my marker, but I was getting charged from Mulvane to Wichita and Wichita to Mulvane every day. They said, that's yours.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything at this
Motion
point.
to adjourn.
It's under discussion.
Second.
Motion and a second, Debbie and Rich, final action.
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Everybody fix to go play.
My
please. Fix to go play.